Okay, so let's be real. You're probably here because either one, you're churning, or two, there's a credit card sign up bonus that's so good that you can't pass up even though you just opened a credit card recently. Now, while there's no hard and fast rule about how long you need to wait between credit card applications, what I want to do today is lay out the groundwork for each of the major credit card issuers and how long you should probably wait depending on your current credit card situation, as well as your history with that particular issuer. Now, the primary reason people think about spacing out their credit card applications is that you don't want to incur too many hard pulls in a specific time period, as well as the fact that you don't want to get denied for a credit card in the first place. Generally speaking, what I've seen in terms of guidance from most people is that it's a 6-month period that you generally want to wait between credit card applications so that you're good to go. I'm here to say that depending on your situation, that is not necessarily the case. While I do think it's unwise to open a ton of different credit cards, even though you don't need them, I would say that if there is a great sign-up bonus that you can actually get a good return on opening that credit card that you might actually use in the future, I would say it does make a case for opening a new credit card, even though you might have already just recently gotten another one. Now, the big credit card issuers I'm going to cover in this video are going to be American Express, Bank of America, Capital One, Chase, Citi, Discover, and Wells Fargo. Starting off with AMEX, the key here is going to be whether or not you're already an existing customer of American Express. So that means that if you already have a card with them, or if you have a product with American Express, whether it's a charge card or a credit card, then generally speaking, you're much more likely to be approved and have no issue getting a new credit card with them if you've recently gotten one already. The great part about American Express as a credit card issuer is that if you're already an existing customer, they don't do a hard pull on new credit card applications. What this means is that they'll still do a soft pull once you input your information, but if you're logged in and you apply for a new credit card with American Express, generally speaking, you shouldn't have an issue as long as you've been in good standing with the credit cards you already have open with AMEX. That being said, AMEX does have a limit of 5 American Express credit cards and no more than 10 AMEX charge cards. Personally, I'm not sure why you need to bust through that limit, but just so you guys are aware, that does exist. In addition, even as an existing cardholder, American Express does limit your applications to no more than 2 applications per a single 90-day period. Now, this 2 per 90-day rolling period for Amex still does exist if you're not an existing customer, but I would say that your first card you're going to get with American Express, of course, you're going to have that hard pull on your credit score and make sure that you have high enough of a score to actually apply for it, especially if you're not already pre-approved. I am also going to touch on the pre-approvals for each of these credit cards, and I would say that with American Express, especially as an existing cardholder, the pre-approvals are tied to your account, and so they actually are valid pre-approvals, whereas with some of the other issuers, the pre-approval is actually just a marketing link, and so anybody can click on it and it'll say, see more information or something like that, which doesn't actually mean that you're pre-approved for the card. And the last thing we want is to see a denial, which is going to be a ding on your credit score, and you won't end up with a new credit card in the process. Currently, I hold 4 Amex products, 2 of which I actually opened in the last 90-day rolling period, so I know for a fact that this does work, and I use both of the pre-approvals for pretty premium credit cards with American Express, so I can tell you guys for a fact that as of right now, this does work. Moving on to our next one, which is Bank of America. Bank of America currently still uses the 2-3-4 rule. This means that you can only be approved for 2 cards within a 30-day period, and 3 cards within a 12-month period, and 4 cards within a 24-month period. Now, that being said, Bank of America only has these limits on Bank of America cards. So if you're opening new cards with a different issuer, these limits don't technically apply, although I'd still be careful about applying for too many in a single 90-day period. Our next one is going to be Capital One, which I would say is probably one of the stricter ones on this list. Capital One actually has a cap on the number of personal credit cards you can have with them at any given time at a total of 2. This doesn't include any co-branded Capital One cards, but personally, I'm not aware of any great co-branded Capital One cards at this time. So you can only have 2 personal Capital One credit cards at any given time. These obviously do not include any of the business ones they offer, but this is a limit you need to be aware of. That being said, in terms of the timeline of how long you need to wait between Capital One applications, you can only have 1 application every 6 months for a Capital One credit card. This 1 credit card per 6-month limit doesn't actually apply for credit cards outside of the Capital One platform, but just so you guys are aware, you can only apply for 1 Capital One card for every 6 months. The next one's going to be Chase. I think everybody knows that Chase has the 5 and 24 rule, which means you can only have 5 credit cards open for every 24 months. This is a pretty tough one because this is actually 5 credit cards of any type and issuer, so it doesn't matter if it's a Chase credit card or not. If it's 5 credit cards you've opened in the last 24 months, they simply are not going to accept a new application. I think Chase was one of the earlier ones with their Chase Sapphire Reserve and the great benefits that it had, but they're probably trying to stop people from doing all the churning. Now, the 524 rule is definitely pretty tough because Chase has so many different credit card offers offerings and is a pretty big credit card issuer. But I would say that some key ways to get around it are definitely to upgrade your current existing cards if there's an offer to upgrade instead of applying for a new application, since that won't count towards a new credit card that you've gotten, or just strategically applying to your credit cards, including your Chase credit card, so that you're staying within that 524 and still maximizing your returns from those good sign-up bonuses from different credit cards. Our next one is going to be Citi, which only allows one Citi credit card application every 8 days, and you can't apply for more than 2 Citi credit cards within one 65-day window. Once again, these limits only apply to Citi credit card applications, so if you're applying for other credit card issuers, you should be good to go. Our next one is going to be Discover, which even though they don't have that many offerings, only allows you to apply for one new Discover credit card every given year. And just like Capital One, you can only have 2 Discover credit cards at any given time. The last one on this list is going to be Wells Fargo, which limits you to 1 credit card application every 6 months. This is only specifically, once again, for Wells Fargo credit cards and not for other issuers. So that about wraps up the major credit card issuers and what the restrictions are on your applications and generally how long you should wait depending on what type of customer you are of each of these institutions. Now, I think this goes without saying, but generally speaking, for most people, there is no need to be applying for multiple credit cards in a very short span of time. I would say that unless you really need that credit card that you're applying for whatever reason, I would wait for that 6-month window to be up to apply for your next credit card, because generally, as a rule of thumb, that's what's going to limit the negative impact on your credit score, which I think is the most important piece here, and your long-term credibility to each of these credit issuers. I would also say that if you've closed a number of different accounts with a particular credit card issuer in the past, they're less likely to approve you for a new one because it seems as you're probably churning or doing something to try to just hack the sign-up bonus thing. But personally, my strategy is to never close a credit card because you want to increase the age of your total credit. And I'm only applying for cards that have an annual fee that either I'm going to use for sure for the long-term foreseeable future, or that allow you to downgrade at some point to a card with no annual fee in the event that I decide not to use that card anymore and use a different credit card issuer's card, just so I have that as an option in case I decide not to continue to use a card that I've opened for a great sign-up bonus that has a very high annual fee. The last thing I want to mention is that these things can always change, and so just be aware that these limits exist right now, but they can change in the near future. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like down below, comment if you guys have any questions, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.